What if My Hero Academia had Pokemon? That's right, it's an absolutely crazy idea, but what would happen if your favorite My Hero characters got turned into Pokemon? Well, that's the question we'll be answering today, thanks to the artist ThePanio, who can be found on Instagram. If you haven't seen, ThePanio has been going through and turning a bunch of super popular anime characters into Pokemon. In fact, we've already made videos about the Dragon Ball Z Pokemon that they made, as well as the Jujutsu Kaisen, and they were both amazing. Which makes me super excited about today's video, because I am a pretty big fan of My Hero, so to see my favorite characters turned into Pokemon is going to be high. And I want to get right into it, so let's not waste a lot of time. If you end up liking today's video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to see more Pokemon fan art videos, because I am posting new ones all the time. Oh, and let me know in the comments what anime you want to see mixed with Pokemon next. I'm thinking about doing One Piece, but maybe y'all could change my mind. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, of course we have to start off with the Pokemon based off the main character Deku. This thing's name is Raku, a combination of rabbit and Deku because it's a rabbit. And it's actually normal fighting type because it's based off Deku when he's a child and he doesn't have his quirk yet, so he's normal type because he doesn't have any power. And with the evolution, we see the design more resembling Deku's superhero costume, so he's got like the red shoes and the black and green outfit. And what I think is especially cool is that gray tuft of hair that's around its neck and goes up into its mouth. I believe that's supposed to represent Deku's air pressure mask that he wears, which is a really small but very cool detail. And from here it has an absolutely sick form called its Vigilante form, which is obviously based off when Deku was in his Vigilante arc. And for the first two stages, I didn't really realize why they were based off rabbits, but now it makes sense because when Deku was being a vigilante, he wore like that creepy bunny mask. But that's not even the coolest part about this design, because if you look behind him, you see he's got this black and green energy, which is based off the Black Whip ability that Deku has, which is probably my favorite that he has. It's just such a cool visual. It's also fighting dark type, and it's just an amazing design. If this was a real Pokemon, I could easily see it being a fan favorite, sort of like Lucario, like a sort of humanoid Pokemon that everybody loves. Okay, now we have a Pokemon based off Bakugo. Its name is Bakudog. It's pure fire type, and it's this little dog thing, and while it's not exactly clear what breed of dog it's based off of, I'd like to think it's like a Chihuahua or something. I feel like that would just fit the look on its face and Bakugo's energy in the show. I feel like at the beginning he was very Chihuahua-like, if that makes sense. Its evolution is now fire dark type, which is super cool typing, and I love the design elements of this rippling flame spine thing going down its back. That just looks absolutely sick. And just like the last one, we now see that it's starting to get design elements that look like Bakugo's superhero costume with these green gloves. And the evolution continues that. It even has the red X across its chest and those gauntlet things that Bakugo also has, but I believe his are like grenades or something, and this one is just like a big gauntlet thing. And I'd like to imagine if this Pokemon was real, it would learn nothing but explosive moves like self-destruct and stuff like that. That would just be perfect. Next up, we have the Pokemon based off Todoroki. Its name is Iroki, and it's this little cat thing that right now is only pure ice type. Which makes a lot of sense because at the beginning of the show, Todoroki only had control over his ice powers. But of course, with the evolution, we now see that it's ice fire type to represent when he gets control over his fire powers, and ice fire type is actually really cool typing. It's very rare in real Pokemon. I believe right now the only Pokemon with that typing is the Zen mode form of Galarian Darmanitan, which is obviously so niche that you never even see it. So I would want this Pokemon to exist, if nothing else, to give us that typing finally. And here's the final stage of the Pokemon. I feel like this is just a very solid, realistic Pokemon design. If this was in the new game, I really wouldn't think twice. But it's just very well designed. I love the flaming scarf that it has and the ice blade on the end of its tail. This thing is just very cool. Next up, we have the first stage of a Pokemon based off Ochako. Its name is Ochabit, so this is a rabbit as well, just like the Deku Pokemon. However, this one is fairy flying type and has a much more futuristic design. With the evolution, we again see the superhero costume start to manifest with these large astronaut metal pieces that Ochako always wears. And I had an idea for a really cool signature ability that this Pokemon could have if it was real. In Pokemon, there's a move called Gravity, which starts a special effect on the field that does a bunch of different random things. And I thought it'd be cool if once this Pokemon enters battle, it would automatically start the gravity effect on the field, sort of like when Pelipper enters battle and it automatically starts the rain. It would do the exact same thing, but with gravity. I think that would make a lot of sense. It wouldn't be overpowered or anything because the effects of gravity aren't that strong, and obviously would make a lot of sense with Ochako's abilities in the anime, so that'd be really cool to see. Here's the first stage of a Pokemon based off Tokiyami, one of my favorite characters. Its name is Krog, and obviously it's a crow because Tokiyami literally has a crow face, so that makes a lot of sense. It's dark flying type, and it kind of just seems like a standard early route bird first stage. But the evolution is incredibly unique because now both of its arms have turned into this large shadowy cape behind it. And when I first saw this, I just knew it was about to evolve or transform into a different Pokemon based off Dark Shadow, and that made me super excited because that is my favorite quirk in the entire show. And yeah, I was not disappointed. This is easily my favorite design of this entire video. This thing is absolutely insane. I really like how you can still see the regular form of the Pokemon underneath all that shadowy energy. It really makes it feel like an additional form and just so congruent and so cool. If this was in a real Pokemon game, I'm catching it every time. Okay, now we have a very interesting Pokemon based off Shigaraki. It's dark poison type, and right now it's in its grudge form, which I'm thinking is based off when Shigaraki has his father's hand on his face and his real face hasn't been revealed yet, so this is like a concealed variation. And overall, this design is just crazy. If this was in real Pokemon, it'd have to be an Ultra Beast or something because it's just so out there. And here's its other form. It's called its true form, and this thing just looks like a straight up villain. They did a great job of making this Pokemon look evil. If there was a Pokemon game villain, they would have this instantly because it's just so creepy. Up next, we have the first stage of a Pokemon based off Kirishima. Again, one of my favorite characters, so I was super excited for this one. It's got like a sort of dinosaur design, which is interesting, and it's rock fighting type. And technically, this Pokemon could be a fossil Pokemon because its first type is the rock type, and it kind of looks like a dinosaur, so in my head canon, this is a fossil. Yeah, never mind. This thing is definitely a fossil. Here's the evolution. It looks super cool, and I'm thinking if this was real, it would definitely have to have an insane physical defense stat because Kirishima is so defensive, so that would just have to be it. It would have to have the highest physical defense in Pokemon history. And then this form of the Pokemon would have to have even more defense than that. This is the Pokemon in its Riot form, and it's now Rock Dragon type. And this design is just so cool. It's clearly based off Kirishima's Unbreakable form when his skin is like all rocky and he almost looks like a demon in the face. This just translates so well to a Pokemon. I didn't expect it to, but this is like perfect. I think if it was in the actual game, this would be more of a Mega Evolution than a Riot form or whatever, but it would absolutely work. I think this is the closest to a real Pokemon any of these have been so far. Okay, now we have the first stage of a Pokemon based off Kaminari. Its name is Pecky. It's pure electric type, and I believe it's supposed to be based off a baby penguin. I'm not really sure why they did that. I guess it just matches Kaminari's outfit because it's black and white, but this thing is actually really cute. I never thought a penguin unicorn would fit as a Pokemon, but it absolutely does. Here's the evolution Camguin, and I'm a little disappointed because they took away that electric unicorn horn. I was kind of hoping that'd be a thing for the entire line of the Pokemon, but they took it right away, and honestly, I'm sad about it. Here's the final stage. Its name is Zapagwin. It's got these really cool built-in sunglasses, but I will say, again, I'm a little disappointed because I thought they would fit somewhere into this design. The fact that Kaminari gets stupid after he uses his electrical attacks. I thought one of these evolutions would be based off being stupid, if that makes sense. Especially because that would fit really well into a signature ability or something. This Pokemon could be like incredibly powerful, but after it uses an electrical move, it turns into a stupid form and then it doesn't listen to you for one turn or something like that. I just think that would have been really cool and a great reference to the anime if they did anything like that for this design. This is probably the Pokemon I was looking forward to the most. This one is the one based off All Might, but this one is in its bound form, which is based off like the skinny, weak All Might. But don't worry, this Pokemon also has this form called a Prime form, which is based off the fully powered All Might. And again, this Pokemon is just begging for a signature ability. I think something really cool would be to base it off that point where All Might's only able to stay in this form for, I think it's 3 hours or something like that. Maybe they could translate that into this Pokemon in a sort of reverse ability of Regigigas where it takes 5 turns to get powered up. Instead, this Pokemon would have 3 turns before it powered down, so it would be super powerful, but after 3 turns of use, it got really weak and entered its bound form. But yeah, a lot of these Pokemon are just begging for signature abilities or signature moves or anything like that. If you have any ideas for those, let me know in the comments because I'd love to look through them. I just feel like it's a very fun thought experiment turning anime abilities into Pokemon moves. That's just very fun to do, and I'd love to see if y'all could make any as well. Okay, this is pretty cool because this Pokemon is based off Star and Stripe, who's based off All Might, so where the All Might Pokemon is a lion, this Pokemon is a lioness, which is pretty interesting. However, I don't really know much about Star and Stripe from the anime because, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure she gets murked instantly after being introduced, so I don't really remember anything about her. I don't have a lot to say about this Pokemon, but the design is cool. And that's gonna do it for today's video, y'all. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe before you go, and if you want to watch more anime Pokemon crossover videos, there's a bunch in this playlist. Again, make sure to let me know in the comments what anime you want to see next. It's probably gonna be One Piece, so make sure to stay tuned for that, but until then, peace.